Sometimes we learn the most by watching the best films. Sometimes by watching the worst films. Sometimes the best of the worst. Sometimes, you guessed it, the worst of the best. And a film can have a big budget. You can have star power, a talented, acclaimed director, and still be a bad film. And a bad film can still be a good time, especially if it's stupid, if it's action, and it's got Nicolas Cage at his cagiest. We've talked The Rock, we've talked Con Air, tonight Cage, Travolta, John Woo, Face Off.
A lot of times I ask you the question, what is your relationship to a film? Let me amend that question itself. What is your relationship to John Woo? Now, for me, I fell in love with John Woo almost immediately. I think it was The Killer. I'm pretty sure it was The Killer when I became aware of him. That was probably early 1990s. I don't know how I heard of him. I don't know how he came into my life. I don't know how I found these movies, or it had to have been a Tower Records experience. It had to have been a Tuesday $1.50 rental. But I remember thinking to myself, this is unlike any shit that I've ever seen. So I ask you, when did you first encounter the great Hong Kong filmmaker?
I think it must have been hard boiled. It must have been, what is that, 91, 92?
Yeah.
It's, to me, it's John Woo's Bullets Flying. I mean, that's to everybody, but it's Bullets Flying, The White Doves Floating, Chow Yun Fat. It's that I went back to The Killer. I remember fucking Hard Target, Van Damme and his mullet. Fucking, I saw that at the fucking theater. Broken Arrow, same fucking theater.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 2. Like, then I went into, all right, A Better Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Bullet in the Head.
Oh, you've seen Bullet in the Head?
Yeah, I've seen Bullet in the Head.
There's not too many people I know who have seen that movie.
And it's kind of like, there's the spirit of, it's like you can see, especially at that time when there wasn't much of, like, Tarantino was still, he wasn't as played out in terms of, like, his personality. It's like, okay,
we've seen played himself out yet. Let's be specific.
He hadn't played himself out yet. He had been in, like, okay, like, in that time, it's like, you would see some stuff that was maybe like, it was like a Quentin Tarantino presents.
Mm-hmm. Rolling Thunder was his distribution company, and he presented, I think, Chungking Express and
that's right.
Other films.
Yeah. And I remember, it was like, oh, fucking Quentin Tarantino. Okay, like, I'm gonna, we're gonna branch out, and it's okay. Now this is Killing Zoe. Okay, this is Chungking Express, and so it's almost like you could feel that fucking Tarantino would like this.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, it must be fucking, like, it must be interesting because this is still, like, actually, maybe it must have been probably later than it must have been probably around the time of Pulp Fiction. So it was probably 94 when I saw, I think, Hard Boiled is earlier, but I did see Hard Target at the movies, so it's all kind of like more like mid 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm realizing, like, oh, this is this guy, that's that guy, this guy likes this guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was action, but I understood, especially with Hard Boiled, and especially with, like, the baskets and the birds and the lighting, and it was like, this is beautiful, and it puts me in a different fucking place. Obviously, this is Hong Kong. This is fucking that already has, like, its fucking mystery to it, and and there was something that reminded me about fucking Enter the Dragon and the basket, the bird cages, and it was it had a tone, and then so you know we're setting that up, but you look at Hard Boiled and you look at Hard Target, and those are the same director, but those are fucking worlds apart and cultural cinema worlds apart.
Yeah.
And you look at The Killer, and then you look at Face Off, and it's like, okay, totally, completely different things. And as audiences, we're marketed. Films are marketed to us based on marquee actors, and it turns out, guess fucking what? That means nothing. With the exception of the Ed Harrises and the Duvalls and the Meryl Streeps and certain ones that it's like, well, it could be the worst fucking movie of all time, but at least their performance is going to elevate it. Other than that, as I said in the beginning, like you can put the best ingredients into the pot and cook it up, and it may not fucking come out right.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, but it may not be the fucking magic that you've seen each of those ingredients have separately. Travolta, we've seen him do shit. We've seen him do interesting things. We've seen Nicolas Cage, horrible, bad actor, very successful, but he's done compelling work with the right person. John Woo, okay. Now what happens when you throw him in the United States and fucking like, here? Very strange. Strange fucking film.
Well, yeah. This is the only one of his American-made films that I actually like, that I think works, even in spite of itself, because one of the things that was going through my head as I was watching this film, and I haven't seen this film in 20 years. I saw it in the theater. I might have seen it a couple of times since then, but I might have seen it a couple of times in theaters. I don't remember.
What do you mean, when it came out?
Yeah, when it came out. When it came out.
This is fucking 30 years ago.
Oh, don't tell me that. Really? No. Well, one was Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction. This is after Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction is 30 fucking years ago, because Kurt Cobain died 30 years ago. In April.
All right, calm down, goddammit. Okay.
This is fucking not 20 years ago. You haven't seen this shit in 3 fucking decades. This is a long time.
Yeah, it's a long fucking time. I don't remember. I haven't sat through the whole thing. Let me say this much. I love this. I love this in the same way.
Of course you fucking love it.
It's horrible. It's really just... My question is, do you think there's a Hong Kong sensibility that makes this palatable that doesn't work in an American setting? Because there are a number of the elements of camaraderie and brotherhood and melodrama that I think work in The Killer and Hard Boiled, but are laughable in this film.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's almost like
we got the worst of American culture and lost the best of what Hong Kong cinema brings to it.
So is that like we have no honor here? We have no respect? We just like...
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
We just like fast food. We just like the slow descent into mediocrity. And so
honor and respect is for... I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. Honor and respect is the mythology of the Godfather.
Yeah.
It's not Face Off, okay? Like, no.
No, it's not Face Off, but it is very apparent in The Killer, and there's a sense of nobility and honor in The Killer and Hard Boiled that I think Wu wants to be in this film, but is just woefully misplaced because of the cultural exchange, but also the level of... We've talked a little bit about indicating in acting in the past. We've talked a little bit. I remember a conversation we had about
Yeah,
indicating,
let's
and where
break
we,
that down.
yeah, where the all of the emotion is on the surface, where it's not informing the performance. It is the performance, and I
Yeah,
have
like
never,
you're fucking.
yeah.
You want? What time is it? And I'm gonna look at my watch. I'm gonna look at
No,
my fucking
no,
wrist.
you're gonna look at up at the sky and turn around a little bit and then contemplate it and then look at the watch. It's the
Well, that's
overdoing it.
worse.
Yeah, well, that's what the
That
film is.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Well, that's what this
Travolta.
film is. But I'm just saying, basic indicating is that, or it's like I'm
Oh,
hot,
basic, yeah.
and you fan yourself
Yeah.
to show that you're. What are you doing? You're indicating that you're hot.
Mm-hmm.
Now this, um, this thing is, imagine that Rick and I, and we should probably, this would be stupid, but to get a sense of it, one episode, Rick pretends to be me and all my bullshit, and I pretend to be Rick and all his fucking bullshit. And he goes on these fucking flights of fancy, and talks about ancient Rome,
Mm-hmm.
and how somehow that relates to fucking Beavis and Butthead or whatever.
And you go
And
into
then I
these,
just
you go
shit
into
all over
these
the
spiels
film
of
because Beavis and Butthead are white, and I get drunk, and I get emotional, and I talk about how much regret I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's
You
a trading
dismissive
places.
motherfucker.
It's a trading places film. It's like
Yeah.
Prince and the Pauper, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's the good guy and the bad guy, and they switch. And guess what? Face off. So they actually switch their fucking faces. In the most not cutting edge looking procedure of cinema.
Well, it looks
And
worse 30 years later. I don't remember how it looked 30 years ago, but it looks
true,
really bad here.
that's true. I mean, maybe it was like, oh shit, I'm high as fuck.
Yeah.
But basically, Travolta and Cage each have to study each other's overacting.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, I mean, like Travolta knows how to like downplay it more than Nicolas Cage. So it's really, you really get to see John Travolta like super fucking play it up, because now Nicolas Cage's character has John Travolta's face and vice versa. The world that they inhabit in the film doesn't know that the faces have been switched, because one was in a coma, because yeah, it's a soap opera. And so now you have this interesting thing where John Travolta plays the good guy FBI agent, Nicolas Cage plays the villain psychopath. The faces are switched. There's a reason, but who gives a fuck? It's whatever. The point is that at this point now, John Travolta has to play basically Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage has to play John Travolta.
Yeah. I think that sums it up.
And everyone around them is just going based off of who they see. That's who they think they are, right? But inside, it's the other person. It's the opposite. And now they have to like set things right. And this film, like, I was reminded of Charlie Sheen's tiger-blooded public meltdown. Do you remember his behavior in those interviews when
Yeah,
he
I
was like
remember that.
winning? And I mean, he would have fit right in with that kind of behavior on this film. And this film also could not have been made today, with the amount of fucking sexual harassment and the amount of fucking like Me Too fucking level behavior.
Yeah, plot device shit
That-
being dismissive as plot device and that kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, but also it's used so much to show how villainous Nicolas Cage's character is. But then when he's bad enough, but then when John Travolta plays that character, grabbing asses, fucking like getting all in his daughter's fucking space, even though technically it's not his daughter. It's but
It's
in
still the
terms of
creepiness is there, yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, and but John Travolta seems like he's having a blast.
It's fun to watch him have a good time in this movie where it's just like Nicolas Cage is pained the entire way through and Travolta is just he's like a kid at the candy shop. He's just so fucking thrilled with the ridiculousness of this idea and the pyrotechnics and the I I don't know what they thought they were making. I mean, this is vastly different than Broken Arrow, which came out a couple of years before that, which was Woo's first foray
Christian
into
Slater.
Hollywood filmmaking. Yeah, Christian Slater, Samantha Morton, and Howie Long, I think it was. So that was that was the second film that Wu
Wasn't
had
Hard
done.
Boiled earlier with Van Damme?
No, not Hard Boiled, Hard Target. Hard Target, yeah, that's
I'm
right.
sorry, Hard
Hard
Target. Yeah,
Target, and then Broken Arrow. But I think Hard Target was actually Hard Target is a better film than Broken Arrow. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot. I like Hard Target. I think Hard Target's a lot of fun, and I think Jean-Claude Van Damme is very good in it. In within the context of how stupid a film it is. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, yeah, this.
well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it's weird because I don't respect John Woo's American films. I enjoy them, but I don't respect them in the way that I respect The Killer and Hard Target. But all of the elements that are there, all of the, it's almost like what is attempted in the American films are achieved in the Hong Kong films. And I have to wonder, is that a level of racism in assuming that it's possible in an Asian language, Asian film, as compared to what is done over here? It just doesn't seem it seems so forced and it seems so utterly out of place with um, American attitudes and beliefs and practices. So this is something that really has bothered me since since Wu came over here, and I've seen most of his films here. I can't say that I've liked all of them. I didn't see this last one that he did last year. I didn't see the Ben Affleck thing that he did with Uma Thurman, but I hated Mission Impossible 2, and I didn't particularly care for Broken Arrow. But this, I think the combination of Travolta overacting and Nicolas Cage bringing his Cage acting into it, I think it works beautifully. And the slow motion, I think we had done episodes on Jerry Bruckheimer produced films with Michael Bay and Simon West. And I think the difference between what makes Wu palatable is that he doesn't live in the close up. Um, the slow motion is there, the doves are there, these moments of higher emotional investment, at least from the point of the story are concerned, are very much apparent. But the fact that Wu keeps it all in a wider shot where you can see everything and he doesn't make anybody godly in a weird way. Um, I think it works better for these films. These are, as much as I enjoy Con Air and as much fun as The Rock is, Face Off is a whole different level of ridiculous fun. I can't say it's a good film, but I will say that it's one that that I will go back to and that I will have fun with and that I enjoyed. And I think a lot of that is how much fun Travolta and Nicolas Cage are having in it. And everybody else is playing it like it's high drama. Like this is a
I
real
mean, what else can they do? You know what I mean? Like, fuck, like Joan Allen. Like, I feel, I feel for Joan Allen. Um, I feel her fucking pain. You know?
that she has to lower herself to do this kind of shit. Yeah.
She's like, this isn't the script I read, you know? It's just Bob Wisdom is in it. Robert Wisdom, he ended up with being The Wire.
He was
it-
Bunny, right?
yeah, I think that's the character's name.
Yeah, he was a lot heavier in The Wire.
Yeah, you know, it's years later.
Yeah.
Gina Gershon, you know, like she could bring what she could to it. I mean, it's a fucking horrible script. It's the dialogue is fucking dreadful.
Now, do you excuse that because it's not Wu's first language, or is there anything that's excusable? When this much money
John
is
Woo
being
didn't
spent,
fucking write it. Well, I mean, like,
no, it's not just that John Woo didn't fucking write it. It's that John Woo might not understand how bad the dialogue is. Is that an excuse?
no, it's not. It's a fucking attack on the fucking screenwriter. It's like it just doesn't work.
But the director is the captain of the ship, and if that ship hits the iceberg, it's because of the fucking director.
Okay, so fine.
So
but it's still not an excuse. So what?
No, it's not an excuse. But like, whose fault? A bad writer is a bad writer. Now, is it just that the dialogue is bad, or the whole concept of this thing is bad? Or I mean, there's so many different angles that you could come at why this movie is bad.
I mean, the concept. It's kind of like it's a fucking movie concept.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got two guys. They hate each other. They're opposites. Then they have to switch. So then, how does that affect? You know, it's not like there is a movie there.
It's not a new idea. I get you on that. I guess when you put the technology into it.
Sure, there's a movie to be made from that concept.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. Now, whose fault is it? I mean, it's one of those. This goes back to the arbitrary kind of nature. It's like, who gets the credit when it's amazing? You know, like an old friend and director that we used to work with said, like, hey, like if and these are stage plays, fucking small in LA, mind you, and we're not talking about musicals at the Pantages that are touring. We're talking about like
black box shit. Yeah.
Black box fucking small theater shit that no one's gonna see.
40 seaters, yeah, if that.
Okay, if some asshole critic comes in from whatever LA Weekly or whatever to see it, our director's thing was like, if it's great, he's going to talk about how good the writing is or how good the cast is or whatever. If it's bad, he's going to talk about how bad the director is. When something, it goes back to the fucking, and it's William Goldman, like no one knows anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's such, and I said this last time with Jaws, and we've touched on it with these other Nicolas Cage films. It's like, there are so many moving parts to a film, but we have this idea that it's like, well, and we still, you and I mean, this is how human beings, I think, this is how we think about it.
Yeah.
Is like I said, if you just have the right actors and the right script and the right this and the right that, you're gonna get a good film. And that's how they fucking, if we can get this person, put their name on the fucking marquee, people will come. And people go to those films expecting certain things that they're used to. And then when they don't get them, they're disappointed. And then at most they say like what I've said. It's like, well, at least, you know, Ed Harris fucking whatever, you know, Joan Allen, well, you know, like, what could she do? Whose fucking fault is it that this movie sucks? I have no idea. It's like, it's just one of those things that just kind of like, the thing determines what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You could have put the same actors and a different director, and maybe the different director is going to say, like, this script fucking sucks. Let's rewrite it 5,000 times. And then it's still the same. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's also the aspect that, like, you could have a great Hong Kong director, and Hollywood will kill the dreams and aspirations of that director while still paying him good money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they will still afford you these opportunities to make bigger, bolder, crazier films, but the magic is not going to be the same. At the same time, you can come from making like some gritty little whatever movie, and then you can get the opportunity to come, and now you make your fucking big hit fucking thing that you wouldn't have had the opportunity to make before. Like, who fucking knows? It's just one of those things that it's like, it's so beyond blame or patting someone on the back or giving them credit. This thing is fucking like, this industry, the process of making films, the process of watching films, the process of going back and criticizing them or talking about them is so fucking subjective, so fucking arbitrary. I don't know how much money this film fucking made. I don't know how successful it was.
It was very successful. It was a very successful film for him.
And it's horrible. It's a fucking horrible movie. Is it a fun movie? Yeah, it's fun if you look at it from like, look at this fucked up fucking like movie. Look at how bad it is, and enjoy that. That's kind of like I think I called it a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It's like a survival strategy. In watching some of these films where it's like, I'm gonna go into this shit fucking like. There's also a nostalgia factor where it's like, you know that some of these films are bad, but they're like, we're going back into the video store. We're going back in time. We're pulling it off the shelf. We're wiping the dust off. We're rewinding the tape. We're cleaning the heads. We're doing all of that. Boom. Fix the tracking. VCR. Here we go. Shut out the lights. Good, bad, or ugly, we're going to have a fucking good time. It's more like that. And look, and I want to do, you talked about this. It's like real bad movies that we like. There's still one that's on the horizon that I want to show you, but I just want to show you the right cut of that film.
Yeah.
And it's bad, but I fucking go back to that film like once a year.
Wow. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's like I look at these bad films. See, there's a part of me that sits here with the understanding that you watch so many bad films. There's so many really bad films out there. How many of them are actually fun, though? Where it's like, no, this is ridiculous. This is moronic. This is just this is an embarrassment. This is an artistic embarrassment, but everybody in it is having a good time making something that they know is stupid, that is beneath everything. The problem. Okay, so when you watch a Con Air, I don't know Simon West's work. I don't know if he's capable of making a great film. I don't know if he's capable of making a good film. All I know is that Con Air is a fun, moronic ride that should not work in any way, but does. The problem that I have with Face Off is that as stupid as it is, as over the top the acting is, it's Travolta and it's Cage amped up to their most ridiculous, which I think you need to see every once in a while. I like this being the template of understanding how bad they can both be in a movie. And I don't say that with a dismissive attitude. I think, the acting is bad, but it's enjoyable. It's fun acting. The problem for me is that I respect John Woo as a filmmaker, and I really do like his work. I just look at his work and ask myself, why is it that nothing that he makes in America comes close to the quality of that which he's doing in Hong Kong? And
That's a big one.
well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. He has bigger star power here. He has higher and he has better budgets and more better access to pyrotechnics. Now the stunt work here is nothing near where he has over there. It's like when you watch the last 25, 30 minutes of Hard Boiled, that is such a ridiculous roller coaster ride of action that when so much of it is copied in this film or in Hard Target, your average audience is being very dismissive. Like, oh God, what the fuck is this? Why do you accept it when it's Hong Kong and you dismiss it when it's over here? That's one question. The second question is, I mean, and I don't know why. I don't have an answer to that. All I do know is that
these
it
are
is a problem that
rhetorical.
exists. Yeah. The second thing is, when you're watching something like this, how do you know that it's okay to just turn off your brain and have a good time with the stupidity of all of it? Because that's the only way that I can explain it. That's the only way that I can watch this movie and really truly enjoy it is knowing Cage and Travolta are, number one, both fans of Wu, and number two, living out some kind of boyhood fantasy of cops and robbers. And it's there on the screen, and it's fun. So should I deny myself the enjoyment of it because maybe Wu aspires to greater art and it doesn't achieve that? Or should I just lay back and have a good time with what is on that screen? You said something during the Con Air episode where you described screenwriters, producers, company men sitting around telling themselves that they were making something great. And I disagreed with that. I said that I thought they knew they were making shit, but they were leaning into that. I'm conflicted with this because I don't see that. I think people who brought John Woo over here thought that they thought that his style, and I don't know if there's another filmmaker of the 1990s with such a signature filmmaking style so readily apparent that like you watch them and like, oh, that's John Woo. There's no point in this movie where you're watching it thinking, oh, this is any other director but John Woo. But there.
I mean, Wong Kar-wai.
Not making American films though.
Oh, making American films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like Wong Kar-wai, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, that man has a visual style that is,
The Wong Kar-wai.
that is very Wong Kar-wai. With Christopher Doyle though, shooting it. I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't think you could. We're going to have to get into Wong Kar-wai again. We've only done two, 3 films, maybe.
One film.
No, did we? We didn't do In the Mood for Love.
Nope.
Well, we're going to have to at some point. We're going to have to because that's.
I mean, there's a lot of shit from him to do.
Well,
a lot of good shit.
Well, yeah. That was a beautiful film. And the one that we did do, it wasn't Chungking Express. It was the other one, wasn't it?
Fallen Angels.
Fallen Angels. Beautiful film. Anyway.
Hong Kong.
Yeah, Hong Kong in the 1990s. Sadly, a film industry that is not anywhere near what it once was. And then, 20 years later, that's going to happen. But do I don't know. Is this a failure of a film, even though I sit and I enjoy it? Do you think that this film was aspiring to greater things?
Well, when I say great, or if I said the word great, when I'm talking about these fucking assholes sitting around a table
Well, you're talking about a
drinking
bunch of
fucking
assholes
lattes.
stroking themselves, telling themselves how great they are.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, great. I'm saying like, oh, this is amazing. This is great.
Hmm.
Like blah blah. I'm not saying that they're like we're gonna do the next fucking apocalypse now.
I don't
Um,
think they have an understanding of that.
I mean, I think, look, I do think that there are fucking people in those rooms that fucking like did come up through the video stores and all that shit too.
Oh yeah.
I think some of them they do have an understanding of that, but maybe it's the higher up executives that don't have an understanding of that. But people that are still that make it into those meetings that are fucking consulting that are maybe like somehow involved. They don't sign the checks, but they're involved. We're like, this is good. Like, this is fucking. I don't think all of them are necessarily saying, look, this is fucking. It's not like trauma films where they're like,
Hmm.
this is what we make, this is what we do, it's going to video. The fucking painting on the cover of the fucking movie is more important than the fucking what's inside. It, it's it's not that. I think they're trying to. I think they're stroking themselves, throwing around fucking spitballing ideas, uh, throwing things around and saying like that's good, let's do that, let's do that. But it's very by committee, and it's very kind of like it's not what you would think of as a fucking like serious the stereotypically like serious kind of artwork. What something got lost when fucking John Woo came, and it's like someone could say he sold out. Um, I mean, you could throw that accusation like at the same time. I mean, John Woo deserves to fucking be able to make cinema wherever the fuck he wants to and
Yeah.
for whatever amount of money, just like anyone else. You, it's easy for someone to say like, it's like there's an episode. I think it's an episode of Anthony Bourdain where he's in Morocco, and they're talking about. I think it was the Tangier episode, and they're talking about how some some of those cafes like they didn't have TVs. It was people talking, but then they were putting these fucking TVs so people could watch soccer and shit like that, um, and then some people complain about like, oh, things are fucking changing, but it's at the same time it's like, motherfucker, like you want your little quaint Morocco, but like these people want their shit too. They want to be able to like
Hmm.
advance with the things so they can watch their shit. Like, do we want to keep John Woo small, by comparison, and Hong Kong and fucking pure on some level as cinephiles? Yes, we do, because that's how it is.
That's what we fell in love with.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, um, what happens when you get a fucking Starbucks in Italy, which Italians, they fought fucking. Um, I think that was part what produced like the slow food movement was like a fight to fucking like do not fucking let that that thing
That shit.
happen here.
Beast. Yeah.
Well, what happens when you get Starbucks in Italy? Well, you get fucking Starbucks in Italy. That's what you get. Um, that roastery is pretty, but at the end of the day, it has more shit. But it's like it's still a fucking Starbucks in Italy. It just happens to be in Italy. But the fact that it's not the same. It's not the same as a Starbucks on the one that's like a few blocks to your left or the other one that's a few blocks to your right. It's like here in the United States. It's something different. And at that point it's kind of like, is something gained by Starbucks or is something lost by Italy? Or is something lost by Starbucks and something gained by Italy? Is American cinema better off because of John Woo? Or is John Woo worse off because American cinema and vice versa? At that point, it becomes like Face Off itself. It's kind of like this collaboration. Like Is it win-win? Is it win-lose? Is it lose-win, win-lose? Like, what's the combination? And I think for John Woo's films, yeah, better budgets, better actor. I mean, not better actors, but better, not at all better actors, but I mean like more marketable
Yeah,
actors.
marketable.
Um, but the films, yeah, they made money. You're saying that this one made tons of money. Like, they're not better films.
They're not better films at all. But this is the thing. You can't fault John Woo because the
No,
John Woo mannerisms.
it's bigger than him.
Yeah, the John Woo artistic mannerisms are there in this film. The doves, the slow motion, the music, the the relationship between good versus evil, two sides of the coin. All of that shit is at play in this film the same way that it is in Hard Boiled and The Killer. This amped up energy of good versus evil, it's all there. I don't think it plays well in an American scenario because we're not built with that level of relating to each other in that way. It's got to be different. It's got to be different in Hong Kong to make it successful in a way that makes it laughable here. You've told me a story, and I've experienced something like it in the past, where you went to see Dracula at the Ace Theater at the Paramount, no, not the Paramount,
Yeah.
but the Ace Theater, and the laughing.
Yeah, United Artists.
Yeah, the United Artists Theater.
Ace Hotel. Yeah.
Yeah, there was laughter in certain scenes, and it
The
annoyed
bat.
you. Yeah, the bat. It annoyed you, correct?
It did annoy me.
It annoyed you. There are certain things about watching this film in an audience, and people, when you watch this, I remember people laughing at a lot of the scenes in this. And if you're laughing at Nick Cage or Travolta, that's one thing. But if you're laughing at the doves, you don't understand what Wu was doing.
Yeah,
there's a sincerity there. It might not work, and it might seem corny over here, but I don't think that. But the problem is more with you as a viewer than with John Woo's sensibilities, because although they're heavy-handed in The Killer and Hard Boiled, they work in those films. The Doves work in that. They don't work in this. They don't work in Mission Impossible 2.
You can put so many fucking doves. Only so many doves, and it's like, and the dove is it you know, in those other films it's so fucking beautiful.
It is,
and it's so fucking like poetic, even if it's hyper realistic at that point, because it's very dreamlike, and it's just like, this is fucking cinema, right?
Yeah.
But you know, that's when you get like the snobbery, because it's like, well, John Woo in Hong Kong is cinema. Mm-hmm. John Woo in America, that's a movie. Yeah. It's not a film. It's a movie. And I think there is a distinction, but at the same time, I can think of like Tony Scott, mm-hmm. Ridley Scott, and I can say, well, some of their films are smaller, more beautiful. I mean, smaller, and I use that term very, very loosely. Mm-hmm. Maybe they feel more intimate, maybe, but the budget is still huge. Versus like these grand, like kind of like I'm doing one for me, we're doing one for us, one for them.
Yeah.
The one for them films, the big budget blockbuster fucking like mass audience films, mm-hmm. are always going to be worse to the purist. I think they're always going to be worse than the you know, we just talked about fucking Jaws. I think Jaws, you know, big blockbuster, blah blah, but it still feels more intimate.
Well, it feels more personal. It does. It
feels more personal.
Yeah, but you get to know those characters on a level that you don't get to know. Everything is surface on this. This is so. I mean, it's the obviousness of a lost child. It's the obviousness of a crazy psychopathic killer bent on just destroying things. It's the flip side of one coin versus the other. I mean, you know, this is Heat except bad. You know what I mean? So it's
saying. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, but it's not even. You can't compare Heat to this. You have to compare. What I'm doing now is I'm comparing Heat to fucking Miami Vice, because
okay,
same director. can still be within the same Hollywood system and still get the. It's not just better films and worse films. I think it's almost like the film is rubber stamped to be by, and I don't know. This is another arbitrary thing because it's like, well, I'm making this argument like it's as if someone's making this decision,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of like some of these films are. It's almost like they're funneled down a certain path to be mass market
Mm-hmm.
films, and certain ones are they may be mass market ish, but on some level they're of a higher quality and they have more
Mm-hmm.
integrity. They have more something to them that isn't as superficial. So pick any fucking director and you're gonna get those kind of films. The exception is like when it's a mass market film that is actually that has some depth. So I don't think. I mean, I think definitely there is something to the fact that John Woo, the system here is not going to suit John Woo's, and the audiences are not going to understand um, maybe the nuances of John Woo's style and the certain signatures. Um, but at the same time, any fucking director who makes movies here all the time is going to have that split as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's just what happens in fucking Hollywood. That Hollywood will fucking kill your movie by trying to take it down to the lowest common denominator. And so it's like, do you have to fucking just, in the same way that the audience has to just sell out to it, does the director have to just say, hey, this is, again, one for them. Fucking,
See, that's the
we're just gonna have
problem
fun
that
with
I
it.
have with this film, though, because I don't, in my naivete, I guess, or my belief in, or wanting to believe in John Woo, because I think John Woo is a great filmmaker, and I think he's somebody who has a certain degree of honor in this type of filmmaking. I don't, I see
You
him
don't see him,
trying, I see him trying to make something great, but I think he's out of his element as far as the culture is concerned, because I think the problem is with us as an American culture, and this doesn't fit in with that. Um, because if you look at this film, it's very much a John Woo film, but it feels like a John Woo film directed by somebody else. It feels in some ways it feels like somebody mimicking a John Woo style.
it's like a John Woo remake by an American.
Exactly, yeah. Um, if that's the case, maybe we should watch David Fincher's The Killer. Or I think John Woo remade The Killer recently with an American actor or an English speaking actor. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what has happened to his career. I know he went back to Hong Kong. I know he was making movies, but a lot of that shit doesn't get released over here. I don't know. I don't know how his film. Like you said, this was 30 years ago, so it'd be interesting to see the trajectory of his career and how the films have changed, because he's been making movies since the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, shit, Better Tomorrow was 83 or 84, something around there. And, you know, this guy has a career damn near as long as Spielberg and Scorsese. De Palma. He comes from an era um, that is, you know, John Woo's got to be in his 70s now. I don't know. You know, before this discussion, I hadn't thought about John Woo for a long time. He would pop up in my head every once in a while because I might see a film be made and I think, oh, action scene. They're pulling from John Woo. That's a John Woo thing, you know. Especially in the 1990s, where a lot of American film, a lot of American action films, you could feel the John Woo influence. I mean, if you look at John Wick, the John Wick movies wouldn't be possible without John Woo. There's just no fucking way that Keanu Reeves and the director of those films would be able to pull off what they do without Chow Yun Fat and John Woo setting the template. You've seen the John Wick films, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, I've seen all of them.
You know,
I don't think that the Fincher one is based on the original John Woo, though.
you think it's based on the Samurai? Because The
I didn't.
Killer is based on
Did
the
you see them?
Samurai to a degree. I haven't seen it.
I
I
I
haven't.
saw it.
Was it
Um,
good?
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Um, I it's a whole other conversation. I don't think it's. I've seen Le Samurai, and I've seen uh, John Woo's Killer, and I've seen Fincher's Killer,
Hmm.
and I don't think I think they're all different. I'd have to go back and see what's if there's a relationship that I can see
Hmm.
between the um, what's the name of the director from Samurai?
Melville. Jean-Pierre Melville.
Melville. Yeah, I'd have to see if there's a if it's is a remake or based on or whatever. It's been a while, but and that's an interesting discussion in and of itself, and to see the performances and the coldness. I see a coldness between the Alain Delon's character and the Fassbender character. There's something there. Anyway, it's it's one of those fucking things. Like, I don't think necessarily that it's just like a cultural, kind of like lost in translation moment. I think it's a fucking industry lost in translation moment. Where everything is fucking like
It's possible, yeah.
everything gets lost in translation from the beginnings of any film to the fucking once it goes through that Hollywood filter. Like, it's one of those things. We talked about how Jaws was not supposed to fucking be like for all with everything that it was up against, and we didn't even fucking really scratch the surface on that.
No, no. There's definitely another episode there.
All of the things that could have gone wrong or did go wrong, all of Murphy's Law things, the what can happen will happen, that took place with Jaws. It was almost like it happened in spite of itself. So how do you end up? You know what I mean? How do you end up with these jewels? But then at the same time, it's like you get. I talked about this for Con Air.
Mm-hmm.
It's lesser. It's less than the sum of its parts. You have this cast of like these people. Throw them in a bag. You do all this and that. You have the explosions. You have whatever, and you're supposed to get something better than what you get. It's very strange. It's beyond, I think, again, one particular. There's so many different sets of variables that ultimately make a film what. All you can do is fucking like get the pieces, shoot what you can shoot, and then try to fucking make the film out of the editing.
Yeah. It's like I'm conflicted because I do feel like if they're whores making this film, then I'm a whore for liking it. But I do have a sense of better films made.
Of course,
it's
you just have to know that difference. Know that just don't fall in love with it. And if you do fall, it's just kind of like I just enjoy it. That's what I'm saying.
She out there sucking dick left and right, but that's what this film is. This film is not.
Have fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like at that point, it's kind of it's a popcorn movie. You can say, "Oh, did John Woo think that he's? Did he try to do something great?" Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't just saying like, "Ah, fuck it, this is just a paycheck."
See,
no, he wanted to make a fucking.
This is the thing. But we were talking about Jaws last week, or in last week's episode. I think Jaws is a popcorn movie. I think Jaws was going out of its way to just be a fun summer movie, a blockbuster before blockbusters. It was just a fun, thrilling roller coaster ride. I think this is aspiring for greater things. Jaws has stood up because I think the the characters and the fear involved in the movie are so more palatable. They're so more realistic and so much more powerful in our experience, so that it's relatable in a way that that this film isn't. This film, maybe it's because there's a part of me that asks what it would have been like if you didn't have Nicolas Cage and Travolta chomping at the scenery the way they do. I mean, they're making full course meals of everything that is there. This is fucking this is embarrassing acting, to tell you the truth. But it's
It's bad.
embarrassing that I love. I love how bad Travolta and Nick Cage are in this movie.
But it's at that point. It's like it's got to be self-conscious. You know what I mean? Like,
otherwise they'd be assholes. Otherwise, they'd be complete morons, because how do you not see it for what it is? And this is the thing, weird. It's weird because I didn't realize how bad Travolta and Nicolas Cage were until I saw this film. And I was like, wow. Now, they have both been really good in other films.
of course,
They've been great in other films. And to a degree, they're great in this film, too. But in a separate bizarro type of scenario where the award is for how bad and over the top it can be.
well, that's also like that leads me to fucking like the Jack Nicholson effect kind of thing, where it's
good
like,
point, yeah.
it's like Jack Nicholson in isolation. If you just kind of, he is interesting to watch, but it's kind of like, what are you doing? What the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you're talking about a Nicholson between Milos Forman directing Nicholson in Cuckoo's Nest versus Tim Burton directing him in Batman.
Take your fucking pick, man.
Different movies, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
But then he plays the devil in Witches of Eastwick, so it's like, I don't know.
And he's great, and
he's great.
And the thing is, it's like there are moments when it fucking just it works. It's again, it's one of those things that it's like certain things seem to work. We don't fucking know why. It's like people always talk shit about guitar. People always talk shit about Jimmy Page, and they say he's such a fucking, and especially like this is post Eddie Van Halen asshole, fucking like Eddie Van Halen cock worshipping fucking acolytes that are like,
okay,
because Eddie Van Halen is Eddie Van Halen, right? Or was, and especially, the 80s and all that. But they're like, oh, fucking Jimmy Page's music is so fucking sloppy. His guitar playing is so fucking sloppy. He's so overrated. He's so this and that. Or people say like, Hendrix is fucking also messy. He's this and that. Stevie Ray Vaughan this and like cleaner, blah blah blah. But Jimmy Page's interest was in emotional. He always used to record 2 solos for every song and 2 potential solos. And there were times when he would mix in the fucking, the messier, dirtier fucking so-called sloppier solo, because he felt that it wasn't really about the notes. It was about the emotional impact as he perceived it. And so he didn't give a fuck. And still considered to be one of rock and roll's greatest fucking guitar players. There were many more technical people to come out that could shred. The whole generation of shred guys that followed in the wake of Eddie Van Halen. But those people, you don't talk about them as much because they're cold, they're dry, they're whatever, right?
Yeah.
Certain things supposedly don't work on paper, but they work in actuality. Jack Nicholson, should it work? Not probably most of the time shouldn't.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that it's like, well, you're getting Jack Nicholson. Nicolas Cage, how many times we can name the ones that are like compelling, fucking Leaving Las Vegas, compelling.
Yeah.
Um, Wild at Heart, compelling.
Mm-hmm.
The Scorsese, Bringing Out
Bringing
the
Out the
Dead,
Dead. Yeah.
compelling. Okay, you know what I mean, and he's not a great actor, but he can do good performances
Mm-hmm.
in a certain context. John Travolta, I think John Travolta is great in fucking Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, he is.
He's very, very interesting. He can do, when he plays it straight, cool. In this, it's kind of, he's having a good fucking time,
Oh yeah.
and I think he's being crazier than Nicolas Cage is.
I think he's using
Because
the
Nicolas,
excuse of Nicolas Cage and how crazy
yes,
Nicolas Cage is so that he
yeah,
could
yeah,
overdo it. I'd be
yes,
insulted if I were Nicolas Cage if I wasn't so
right.
like aware of how fucking over the top Nicolas Cage is.
Because Nicolas Cage has to play it down in
Mm-hmm.
order to be Travolta.
Yeah.
But even in the playing down of it, he's still Nicolas fucking Cage.
Yeah.
And because I think Travolta's a better actor.
Yeah.
Um, and so in it's also like, it's not balanced. And then so Joan Allen has to have these fucking moments with Nicolas Cage. And then she has to basically have moments with essentially Nicolas Cage in the body of fucking John
Mm-hmm.
Travolta, as John Travolta is interpreting it. And it just becomes, it is the sense of like overacting, and those moments when it's like moments in horror films when someone becomes like, when they get bitten by a vampire, or they're about to turn, they're larger than life. They have this newfound fucking freedom. They don't give a fuck. At those moments, it's always, in films, like, that's when the person starts to like become sexier to everyone, and they're free because they don't give a fuck. It's the alter ego. It's Mr. Hyde, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, John Travolta's really having a great time, but at the same time, it's supposed to be grounded in the reality of the world, but it's not. So the floor is very uneven. There is no baseline reality, almost, because it's kind of like,
No.
Nicolas Cage already fucking threw that out. So it's very strange. And then you listen to the dialogue, and then you have the music and all of these elements that are cheesy as fuck. The fight scenes are ridiculously fake. The stunts, and it's cool to see this, especially having watched The Fall Guy.
Yeah.
It's always cool to see these stunts where people are thrown off boats and all this shit, and you can clearly see that these fucking are stuntmen, that it's not fucking them.
Yeah.
And it's fucking cool. So enjoyable fucking film. Enjoyable, but in the way that you watch stupid shit.
Yeah.
I sent you a clip of Marjorie Taylor Greene
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
making a fool of herself, and other congresswomen fucking getting all crazy. And it's kind of like, this film is enjoyable in that sense, where it's kind of like, on the surface, you're going like, did you fucking see this? Look at this. Look at this fucking performance. Look at how ridiculous. Because those are also performances. But there's an underlying like, god damn, like, I mean, obviously, in terms of the U.S. government, it's like, this is the fucking house. This is Congress.
Yeah.
And then for this film, it's like, this is the industry that put this out. And then you're telling me that fucking like, that this shit made tons of money.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, there's a separation between what critics think of a film, what the Academy, which is also bullshit, thinks of the film or pretends to think of a film, because that's also a performance and that's also a form of like another interaction with the audience. And then there's also just audience in terms of box office, that relationship between the industry and the people. I just looked up Face Off supposed budget was 80 million. It's fucking this is in 97, so it's a little
A
bit
lot of
over
money back then.
a little bit under 30 years ago. 80 million, and the box office was 245.7 million.
Yeah, it's a success. Three times its budget.
If that's supposed to be, you know, if that's accurate.
Mhm.
So it made its fucking money. So in that sense, yeah, it's a fucking success. Now, in terms of like the legacy of the film, I mean,
It's legacy. It's a pretty strong word, unless you're looking at legacy from a negative viewpoint.
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
mean, you know, in any
Artistically, it's an
viewpoint,
embarrassment. Artistically, it's an
right?
embarrassment. But for sheer fun, good times, stupid, ridiculous, a prison design the way it's designed in this movie, um, a Federal Bureau of Investigation, a takedown like the one that's shown in this film. Uh, it's on a whole other level of moronic Hollywood ridiculousness. But you sit there and you're eating your popcorn and you're drinking your soda and you're saying, "Let's see where else this shit can go. Let's just have a fucking good time." And I'm okay with that.
I mean,
As long as I don't have to sacrifice something else for it. But that's where movies have always been that. Movies have always been the spectacle.
Yeah, and with hopefully something more.
Mhm.
But
you know, Cage would go on
like,
to make. He would go on to. He had either already made Leaving Las Vegas. He would go on to make Bringing Out the Dead. He would do better films. Travolta, sadly, wouldn't go back to making anything of a Pulp Fiction. He pissed away whatever goodwill
yeah,
he had.
opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to fucking the source of all sources, fucking Wikipedia here, to get it straight from the lips of God. And it says that this film has been labeled as part of the quote holy trinity of Nicolas Cage action films, along with Con Air and The Rock. So we've basically achieved the trinity of fucking Nicolas Cage films here in the last couple of weeks. In 2022, Cage said the film had quote aged beautifully. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 93% of 95 critical reviews. So that's a 7.8 out of 10. I mean, that's ridiculous to me.
But what is it? That is simply people selling out to the, and selling out sometimes is a good thing, selling out to the idea that a film can just be a stupid, fun, good time. That's all this film is. I just feel
Ebert
bad.
gave it 3 out of 4.
Yeah, Ebert did, and he called it a great time. He said it was great to watch Travolta and Cage, riff on each other. I just feel bad because I think John Woo was aspiring for something greater in this film. And I just don't think it's possible in an American filmmaking setting.
It's not.
No. But.
And at least not this time, because again, like we're saying, it's not possible. But I mean, like, the thing being the unpredictable fucking beast or realm that is fucking Hollywood, it is possible.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, we just didn't get it. It's kind of like lightning strikes. Sometimes it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, Obviously, you can't run an industry on the expectation of lightning striking. But they try. They try to do the formula, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
you end up a lot of times with the formula. Sometimes the formula makes magic. Most of the time, it doesn't. Um, it's a fucking strange world that we live in, and a fucking strange beast.
Yeah.
This Hollywood thing. Um, the holy trinity of Nicolas Cage action films. This has been a it's. I mean, this has left me with more questions than fucking answers. Which I mean, I'm cool with that. I of the three, I think I prefer The Rock.
Hmm.
I think The Rock is I can still have fun, but at the same time, like I think there's more to it. There's more nuance, and there's actually more stuff going on with that. Con Air is feels just like a mess to me.
A mess that I love. I gotta say,
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. This it's got elements that are like uh, more well made than the other two.
Hmm.
Um, more style that it wants to have. Um, better action sequences, more interesting things in terms of that. There are moments when, especially with Travolta, where you can see that they start to feel empathy for the people on the other side, on the opposite side, the people on the periphery of the main characters, but who are on the opposite side. So Travolta, the Nicolas Cage's character, as played by Travolta's face or whatever. You can see how you can see moments where he's appreciative of his staff. He's basking in the fucking glory and with his ego and all that, but he is appreciative of their staff in a way that the legitimate John Travolta character would never have been. He's in certain ways kind of like supposedly a better husband because now all of a sudden he's like paying more attention to his wife. He has moments when he's not fucking contemplating fucking that girl. He's having emotionally like bonding moments with his quote daughter, even though it's actually it's the other guy's daughter. But he beats up her would-be rapist after basically blaming her for dressing that way. When he's a rapist himself too. So but it's not only that. It's to see the actor making choices. To see when Margaret Cho's character asks him if he's had a surgical procedure, he kind of just looks at her and he's like, "Excuse me." That was like an interest because I'm like, okay, like I'm looking for the acting. I'm looking for moments of reality that aren't this big fucking spectacle, this big show. And it has some, but of course, all that does get washed out in the action of it. And I mean, on some level, action does require a level of stupid.
Yeah, it does.
As a genre, it requires a level of like, I don't buy this because if it were believable, it wouldn't be an action film. And then to add to that, it's like these aren't documentaries. This is not real. There is a level of artificiality to stepping into a space to watch something in the dark that involves these fucking characters that are at risk of injury and death but don't die. So I mean, that's part of it too. Is like not only do you go to a movie for the And I'm speaking all these obvious things. Not only do we go into movies for the actor and for the what is it about? Is it we go in also for genre,
Yeah.
and different genres have different expectations. They have different elements to them, and so that can also be a bad thing because then it's like, well, someone says, well, I'm gonna watch mid fucking mid 20th century Japanese cinema, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna watch a French film of any period, and they're gonna say, okay, I understand it's gonna have these certain sensibilities to it. Okay, it's gonna maybe be a little bit like it's gonna be a little bit more philosophical, maybe a little bit more intellectual, maybe blah blah. It's gonna have more sex, more nudity, um, more smoking, right? I'm gonna watch John Woo, the Hong Kong golden age fucking like hit
Yeah.
to his filmography, John Woo, and you go, oh, okay, beautifully choreographed shootouts, um, and these, this Hong Kong kind of thing of like cops and betrayal and fucking like revenge and double cross and all that, right? Oh, we're gonna watch Jerry Bruckheimer. Oh, okay. Um, it must be 4th of July, and we'll go eat hot dogs after, and we'll have a fucking some nasty beer,
Absolutely.
That's what it is. So this is kind of John Woo at the fucking backyard barbecue, passing you some nasty ass piss water American beer, fucking making you a hot dog. A John Woo hot dog is still amazing, but
Well, that's the thing.
it's
John Woo gave it his all. You can't say that John Woo didn't put it out there, because what other director would have had the balls, or maybe it was like Spielberg and Jaws, didn't have the sense enough to know that what he wanted to do could not be accomplished in American cinema. Spielberg kind of lucked out. Woo, Woo just put it all out there. For those who can appreciate it, they do so with an understanding that uh, overall it just doesn't work, but it's a good time.
I mean, look at fucking Coppola. Coppola lightning struck 3 times for him in the 70s.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
I do know.
Megalopolis comes out. At some point, he'll get distribution, and we'll see it hopefully.
Well, it's
And
already having conflicting attitudes, which is a great thing, because that says
yeah,
that people don't know what to do with it. They have no idea what the fuck it is that Coppola made. And for me, that's an exciting prospect.
well, that's the thing, and it's like we always want more and more and more and more and more, and we should. Um, but the thing is, we already got fucking John Woo like do some great shit. Now we're gonna talk shit because he did this, and we are, and I am. But I mean, it's no one knows anything. No one knows anything.
Always read Goldman. Goldman puts it out there.
Buymeacoffee.com/watch RickRamos. This one goes to Ryan Parker. Buymeacoffee.com/watch RickRamos. Even if it's $5 send it our way. $1,000,000, whatever. You never know what the fuck you're gonna get from the movies we watch or from the episodes that we put out. It is what it is.
Thanks for the support. Thanks for the love. Bye-bye.